on this for our owner of this firearm. So let me pull the support over here, set it down in here. The Ruger 1022 has 4 pre-drilled holes on top. I don't know if you can see them. Let me tilt that for you a little bit. 4 little holes here that are pre-drilled. We're going to take those screws out. And all we have to do is remove those screws that are in here. So let's do that. Careful not to scratch the top of your rifle, or whoever's rifle you're working on. It's very easy to get out. They did not Loctite them in. Okay, this is the base for the scope mounting. You see there's 4 holes. These are wider apart and these are closer. They match the 4 that's on top of your firearm. So we line those up. We're going to put a little liquid thread locker on our screws, which we already have completed that process. So that it'll be nice and strong. And you know, these 22s, they have an awful lot of kick to them. Little joke. Okay, when you're starting screws, always back them up first before you start tightening, and do not tighten this all the way. Snug them down. When you back them up and start them forward, it always gets the threads aligned with the receiving part. Maybe not always, but most of the time. And you got to get the screwdriver in there before it works. Okay, those are all snugged. I'm going to tighten them down, and I'm not going to use an awful lot of pressure here. Just snug them up real nice and firm. You can feel them seat. You don't want to strip anything out. And with that locking liquid on there and those snugged up that much, this will be very strong. Okay, we've mounted our base onto our rifle. And we have a scope that came with these rings, and as you can see, it's adjustable. And we always want to put the screws to this type of base or ring system on the left side of the firearm, unless you're shooting a left-handed rifle. And we'll just snug these up a little bit here. One on the back. One in the front, and if you notice, I'm tightening these down on the narrower rail that is on this Weaver style base. You have the option of the outside or the inside, and we're using the inside. Once we get those on, we take our scope and set it up here. Put the top part of the rings on and get the screws started. Do not tighten this either side down all the way till you get your other side started so that you can share the distance. And what that sharing the distance means is you have a gap here on both sides. Try to keep that equal anytime you're putting 2-piece rings together. Try it this way. the last of the 4. When you're tightening the scope rings down, you don't want to tighten them down all the way, and not quite too snug either, because you want to be able to move your scope back and forward to adjust your proper eye relief. So we need these loose enough to be able to move that scope that way. And sometimes the eyesight isn't as good as it used to be, even with glasses. Okay, that's pretty snug there in the front. Got to loosen it up a little bit. Not much. That one just wants to give me a hard time. There we go. All right. This is a fixed powered scope. It's a 4 power. So to adjust for the proper eye relief, it's important to hold your firearm like you're going to shoot it and pull the scope back and push it forward. And as you push it forward, you'll see the outer diameter of the scope want to close in on you. You don't want to see that. So you pull it back until you get a full picture through your scope. And that's where you want your eye relief. You notice it's back as far as it'll go. So that's an easy one to mark. And before we tighten it down, we also want to adjust the reticle perpendicular to the rifle. Some rifles have flat spots on them. We happen to have a small level here where we can, I think, get a rough idea of what's level with the rifle. Hard to see, but we can manage that. Tighten that down a little bit. Okay, try not to bump the rifle. Take this level, set it on top. Only touch the scope. Turn it until you get a level. Now we're going to snug down these screws a little on each one at a time to try to keep this level as we're tightening it down. Okay, it's still level. Well, now that we've got these screws snug, we'll tighten them down the rest of the way, a little bit at a time. Be careful not to turn them too tight. Some screws can take more than others. This is not a real high dollar scope and rings, so they're not going to take a whole bunch of abuse. Tighten down the screws over here on this side of the rings. Okay, this scope is mounted, and this little 1022 is ready to go to the range, and you can have a lot of fun with this type of firearm. I think there's a lot of them in closets around the country. It's reasonably priced, shoots well, and a lot of fun. So scope's mounted, going to be pretty accurate, a little 4 power on here. And let's go to the range. That concludes today's DVD, and we certainly hope you've enjoyed watching it. Please look for other DVDs produced by On Target Productions on your favorite firearms. We'd like to give a thanks to the National Rifle Association for the work that they do in preserving our gun rights, and to the United States military for the giving of themselves to preserve our freedoms. And a special thanks to Canon. .511 Tactical. And Leupold Optics.